At 11.
Oh, Lord Jesus, please be with these people and us.
New information we're learning tonight about the unfortunate and surprising connection between three very personal stories in the Johnson County flood tragedy. Andrew Colgrove joins us live from the scene.
Plus, no regard for anyone's safety.
It had to be stopped. It was just that simple.
Police pull out all the stops to end a dangerous high-speed chase.
And married to the mob, John Gotti's ex-son-in-law nabbed by the feds, accused of following in the big boss's footsteps. News Channel 3 Tonight starts now. Good evening, I'm Tim Ayer in Huntington.
I'm Amanda Barron in Charleston. New tonight, a man is recovering after he was run over by a truck. It happened after deputies say he and the driver of that truck got into a fight. The man is accused of some serious charges and he was just taken to jail. News Channel 3's Michael Klaus joins us live from Kanawha County Magistrate Court with more on how all of this played out.
Amanda, 39-year-old Rocky Tucker is in the South Central Regional Jail tonight. He is charged in that incident where he hit someone with a truck and then took off. Now, tonight he is the only one charged, but Sheriff's Department says they are looking into and questioning other people, trying to figure out exactly maybe what led up to this incident. According to deputies, tonight, Tucker and Dana Slater were fighting kind of earlier this evening. That fight then carried over to the 2800 block of Rich Fork Drive in Charleston. Now, after a physical fight, Tucker then hit Slater with his truck and then drove over him. Tucker took off while Slater was taken to the hospital with some pretty serious injuries. I was heard that he was hit and run over in his torso and his head area. Tucker was later located just a few miles away at the Route 21 motel. Now, shortly after he was taken in by deputies, I spoke with his girlfriend, who really made it sound like he was scared and kind of running for his life.
He came into the room and said that he had to get away from him for his life. He said they were all after him and that one had a gun. So, I mean, I guess he was trying to get out of there.
The Sheriff's Department says that they are investigating those gun claims, part of what they're looking into and questioning. Now, if convicted, Tucker could face up to 5 years behind bars as well as a $5,000 fine. Amanda, that punishment was increased 5 years ago. It's called Aaron's Law, and it's named after a 21-year-old WVU student who was hit and killed in a hit-and-run accident back in 2005.
All right, Michael, thanks. Slater remains in the hospital tonight. He's in serious condition.
Also new tonight, former President George H.W. Bush is hospitalized after a fall at his home in Maine. A spokesman for the elder Bush says he broke a bone in his neck in this fall. The 91-year-old is in stable condition in the hospital. His representatives say once he is released from the hospital, he will then be in a neck brace for a while anyway.
Now to a developing story in eastern Kentucky where 3 people are dead and 1 missing following Monday's massive flooding in Flat Gap.
The third man killed in that flood was found this afternoon. Just hours ago, the coroner identified him as 22-year-old Richard Blair. Richard had cerebral palsy and was confined to a wheelchair. 4 others were previously labeled as unaccounted for, but state police say they don't have enough credible evidence to label them as missing anymore anyway. Earlier today, our own Hattie Cheek and a Johnson County Sheriff's deputy spotted a stranded dog across a creek and rescued her from the rubble left from the flood. Well, tonight we've learned that dog belonged to the Blair family, and the dog was returned to Richard Blair's mother. He was the young man who was found dead earlier today. Yesterday on News Channel 3, we showed you video from Jessica Hall Salisbury as the floodwaters swept away her neighbor's home, which just happened to be the Blair's home. Tonight, News Channel 3's Andrew Colgrove sat down with Salisbury's husband about how they narrowly escaped with their own lives. Andrew joins us now live from Johnson County with more.
Well, Tim, that family has been staying at a hotel in Paintsville. That's where I talked with them. The husband, Brad Salisbury, says they were watching in horror as the flash flooding knocked several of their neighbors' homes off their foundations, and they watched as those homes were floating downstream toward their own house. They were terrified there was going to be a collision, that their own home was going to be demolished. He says his family, he has 3 children and a teenage girl was staying there with him. They all ran up to the attic. He says they grabbed some weights that were lying around and tried to knock holes through their ceiling so they could climb up onto the roof, try to get to some kind of safety. He says fortunately for them, the water did start receding at that point. He says their home was not knocked off its foundation. It was not collided with. However, he says water did get up high enough into his home that it is a total loss. Here's a little bit about what he had to say about that horrible night.
The way I felt, I was the dad. I felt like I let my kids down because I've got them in this situation. But everything happened so quick, and there was nothing we could do. I mean, the water came up so fast. That's the only thing I know to do. And then, you know, I would have never dreamed the water getting that high. And I figured, you know, we could ride it out, be safe upstairs. And then when I seen it kept coming up and seeing all these houses going by, you know, and vehicles, I mean, it washed every vehicle I had off. And it's just so unreal.
And he says it's all the more daunting knowing his neighbor, 22-year-old Richard Blair, that his body was found today, that he was in one of those homes that was floating down toward his. He says he has no intentions of trying to rebuild there. He says he plans to take his family somewhere that is not anywhere near a body of water. Tim?
All right. Hey, thanks, Andrew. And even though that home was the home was ruined, even though it was not knocked off its foundation and floated downstream, they did lose everything. Folks from all over our region and beyond are pitching in to help the flood victims.
Today, a big truck from Nashville dropped off boxes of food and all sorts of other supplies at the Painesville Church of Christ. They're expecting another load of supplies to be shipped in tomorrow from Richmond, Virginia. Folks at the church say what they're doing now really just serves as a Band-Aid, but they plan to be involved in helping out with long-term needs.
People have really big hearts. They enjoy being able to help others, and in a situation like this, it's a time to open our hearts to one another. And we want to be able to ease some of the pain and the burden that people are feeling.
The Highland Church of Christ and First Christian Church are also places where victims can go to pick up relief items. And tonight we caught up with a church in Huntington also pitching in to help with these relief efforts. Tim?
Members of Christ Temple collected items for the relief efforts before tonight's church service. A group from the church then plans to leave tomorrow for Eastern Kentucky. So if you still have a donation that you'd like to give, you can head over to the church early tomorrow morning. And now to Logan County, where there are pockets of storm damage, but the northern part of the county was really the hardest hit.
Specifically in Garrett's Fork, that's where these pictures are from, and you can see some bridges, culverts have been washed out in this area. According to the Emergency Management Director, Roger Bryant, the Big Creek area also saw a whole lot of damage. And this soggy summer is one people there won't soon forget.
I've been at this going on 40 years, and certainly this has been the wettest summer that I can remember. You know, we've certainly had more than our share of rain. It comes fast and kind of goes fast, and we're kind of left with trying to deal with what it leaves in its path.
Right now, crews are gathering data about just how much and what kind of damage is out there. They'll then forward that information to the state for possible financial help to deal with the aftermath.
The effort to clear away a major rock slide in Nicholas County, West Virginia continues tonight, and the road is still closed. The slide happened Monday along Route 82, about 3 miles east of the Birch River. So far, they've moved 2,500 tons of rock, and the workers say, well, there's still about 2,500 tons more blocking the road. Work has been slowed because of safety concerns. When the rain fell, the storms on Monday night and Tuesday slowed down the cleanup efforts for obvious reasons. They were afraid of more coming down. Crews were even forced then to stop working because of their safety concerns. West Virginia 82 is expected to reopen, though, Friday evening.
Not quite perfectly dry and certainly a lot gloomier than many summer days, but it's a start. And in fact, the weather trend the next 4 or 5 days is going to be for mainly hot and dry weather. On to your first forecast. Overnight, the damp ground and clearing skies is a perfect haven for dense fog to form. 60 to 65 for the first light of day, 78 lunch hour, and that warm sun turns hot because the July sun is a dynamo. High sunburn index for the kids heading to the pool or playground, and a late day high of 85 degrees. So the little sprinkle action in the mountains long gone, and even the skies are trying to clear, and that's setting us up for that fog overnight. Weather headlines: we'll walk the Midway over at the Lawrence County Fair. Finally, it'll be hot at the fair. Putnam and Lawrence County Fairs continuing into the weekend. And speaking of the weekend, it's in sight for Picnic with the Pops and other outdoor plans, which we'll talk about when I come back on News Channel 3 at 11.
All right, thanks, Tony. New tonight, a routine traffic stop turned into a dangerous high-speed chase for officers in Barbersville. This afternoon, police say they tried to stop a car along Route 60 for a broken headlight. Well, the driver, they said, took off. The 5-mile chase eventually ended on I-64 right near the 29th Street exit. Arrested after the chase was the driver, Daniel Earp, and a passenger, Catilla Martin. Police say that the driver was already wanted on outstanding warrants. He is in jail on a $25,000 bond tonight. Police say they are happy to get Daniel Earp off the roads.
This particular individual had total disregard for any type of human life or anything on the roadway. So it had to be stopped. It was just that simple.
Luckily, no one was injured in today's chase. Police had to use those stop sticks to get Earp to finally stop. In Charleston, a man busted for child pornography, and it wasn't on his computer. Police said they found it on the display screen of his car stereo. In fact, they found him with it in the car. Charleston police arrested this man, Robert Pettit, around 3 o'clock this morning. He was caught in the 7200 block of McCorkle Avenue. Sheriff's deputies say they found more than 300 images of child porn on the car's computer and a flash drive to go along with it. So he is in jail tonight on a $50,000 cash-only bond. Coming up, straight to the big house for an accused mob boss. John Gotti's ex-son-in-law is nabbed in what the feds are calling Operation Goodfellas.
And on this Wednesday night, there's a comfy feel to the air. Take a look at our weather camera. Downtown Charleston. Come back for your updated forecast here on News Channel 3 at 11.
The manhunt continues in Mexico for that drug lord who escaped a maximum security prison over this weekend.
We're going to get a better look inside the cave that led to El Chapo's escape tomorrow morning.